From the 1992 album Images and Words, that was Dream Theater with Take the Time. And before we meet the guys on this special Dream Theater edition of Headbangers Ball, let me just explain to you what's going on. A little bit later on in the show, we're going to be joining the band in Munich on their European tour. But first up tonight, we've come to the somewhat unlikely setting of Ronnie Scott's, which is famous for its jazz nights and acoustic sets. And Dream Theater are going to be doing something a little bit special down here tonight. We're going to find out more about that in just a moment. But first of all, let me say welcome to Mike and John from Dream Theater. And welcome to Headbangers Ball. Welcome back to Europe. And I think we're actually quite lucky to have you back here, judging by the fact that you've just been in Japan and you actually were there when the earthquake happened, right?
This is let's get ready to rumble!
Literally.
It was terrifying, incredibly scary. We ran down 27 flights of stairs as fast as we could, and it was horrifying. We're just thankful to be alive.
Good. Well, we're glad to have you in one piece back in London, and obviously you're looking forward to the European tour. Quite an extensive set of dates coming up, right?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, we're really psyched because we've been hearing that the ticket sales have been really good, and the record's been selling amazing. You know, it's more than twice as much as the last one in almost every market, so we're really excited.
Good. Well, obviously we're talking about the new album Awake, and the whole purpose of this edition of Headbangers Ball is to get the nitty-gritty on that for you. But before we talk about the new record, we really want to concentrate on what's happening here at Ronnie Scott's tonight. And this is something a little bit special for you guys. Could you explain what you're going to be doing?
I can talk about it. I don't know if I can explain it. This is just a one-off crazy idea we had to get together in a small club and do cover songs, pay tribute to all the bands we grew up listening to and some ones from today. And as soon as the idea came up, suddenly, you know, the phones started ringing, and we're having some special guests down, and Steve Howe from Yes is going to come down and play with us, and Barney from Napalm Death, so two extremes right there. And the guys from Marillion just popped in, so we put together something at Soundcheck, and hopefully we learned everything, you know. But it's going to be a very, you know, lighthearted jam sort of thing, just doing some covers and having some fun.
Lots of fun. Good. Well, we're going to see a little bit of live performance from this kind of cover version concert a little bit later on, but actually we're going into the first video from the Awake album, which you've seen on Headbangers Ball a fair bit already. And I think, guys, this is quite a different video compared to the videos we saw of Images and Words, which were quite stylized and in some ways surreal. This one is a lot harder hitting. Do you think that this is kind of like a statement of intent about the album and the overall feel and vibe of the new record?
I think it was because John had a beard in the video. That's what did it.
My beard just, as soon as the director saw the beard, he said, fast, flashy scenes. That's it.
Faster, yeah, fast. Had to do it.
This particular song definitely was one of the heaviest songs we ever wrote, and it's like 7-string guitar. It's really low and beefy, and we wanted to try to get that across as opposed to having like a real polished, you know, thing in a studio. We decided to take to the streets of Manhattan and make this kind of streety, you know, heavy-looking video. A lot of garbage in the scenes and stuff.
Well, I think you certainly achieved that. So we're going to talk to the guys some more right after we've seen the video from the new album Awake. This is Dream Theater with that very clip shot on location in Manhattan around New York City. Here it is, Lie.
So you tell me, trust me, I can trust you, just let me show you. But I gotta work it out in a shadow of doubt, 'cause I don't know if I know you. Doing fine, but don't waste my time. Tell me what it is you want to say. You send me away, just let me in a hurry. I've been out in the rain all day. So you tell me, trust me, I can trust you as far as I can throw you. And I'm trying to get out of a shadow of doubt, 'cause I don't know if I know you. Don't tell me you wanted me. Don't comes in apparently to fill the void. Our dogs need a leash and at least I'll forget it. She would never hurt me though she's never said it. But I'm not gonna ask her today. I don't wanna scare her away. Oh yeah, Ted, I'm all alone and I just can't stare at the phone. I wanna talk about lifelong mistakes. You can't tell your stepfather I said so.
Theatre, and we're going to be bringing you all the action from their Waking Up the World European tour throughout tonight's show, and also we're going to be going down to Munich a little bit later on to the gig there, but right now we're still at Ronnie Scott's at this one-off kind of cover versions concert, and we've got some live performance from that on the way as well. And now guys, if we can start to talk about the new record, I think a good place to start would be to say that the last 3 years kind of have been like a roller coaster of activity for you. You got signed, you made a very successful major label debut album, you know, you've toured all over the world. How much is Awake a representation of all those experiences and feelings from the past 3 years?
Well, you can't go through all those experiences without being affected by it, you know, and I think the interesting thing for us with this album, it was the first time we ever made a record knowing that there was an audience anticipating it. You know, all the other times we had made records, it's sort of like us just playing to the walls and, you know, wondering what's going to happen. But this time around, you know, we knew that there was an audience and that people were going to be listening to it. So that was a little strange for us. Mm-hmm. And, you know, but I think we pulled through. I think it's a very heavy, a lot heavier of an album, and it's very diverse. It's got a little bit of everything. I mean, I think it's the best record by far, you know, of the 3 we've done.
Were the songs written on the road, or did you have like a cooling off period and then you got to writing?
Actually, we didn't cool off at all. We had some bits and pieces from the road, but not really a lot of complete songs. And we got together in the beginning of the year. What year are we in? 95?
95.
So beginning of 94, around January, the end of January, and we were just in a studio for about 3 months. Every day, just kind of pounding out ideas, and we demoed them ourselves, and 3 months later we had 75 minutes worth of music.
Yes, I was going to say, you certainly weren't stuck for ideas for songwriting on this album, were you? Because like you said, you've got the maximum amount of music you can have on a CD there.
Yeah, we were going to do the Dream Theater box set, but the label was against the idea, you know.
And also I think when I spoke to you before on Images and Words, you said that you just, a song is however long it takes to get across your ideas, and that's definitely the case with the songs on this album. There's, like you said, there is a lot of diversity. There's some of the songs are really very long. Were you kind of, you said that you knew that you had an audience, but were you kind of like wanting to challenge the listener as well?
What do you think, John?
Absolutely.
John enjoys challenging the listener.
I do, as quoted in our bio. Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we write, it's kind of like we just throw everything in, including, like you said before, experiences from the past and new musical ideas and inspiration that we might have picked up on the road. And to us, it is really challenging putting it together, whether it be technically challenging or just on a writing level, you know, I guess it translates to the listener, and it does challenge the listener with the longer songs and, you know, eclectic arrangements and stuff.
But I mean, do you not feel that you're walking a fine line between that and being self-indulgent?
Yeah, well, I don't know.
Fine line between being artsy-fartsy.
I think even less on this album, though. I think the stuff on this album is a little bit more straight ahead without losing the integrity or whatever, you know.
Right.
I think it's, a lot of the material is very easy to digest, and I think through the years we've learned, despite what some of the critics may say, I think through the years we've learned that a song is more important than blowing your load and playing chops and stuff. You know, I think we realize the importance of that, and that takes first priority when we're writing.
I don't realize that. I don't.
John didn't realize that.
Well, thank you for that, Mike. It's a very good insight there. Obviously, you know, we've talked before about the fact that Kevin Moore left the band, and obviously I don't want to go into all the reasons for that again, but are you still working with the Jordan Rudess? What's happening with the keyboards?
Actually, last time we saw you, that was Jordan's only appearance. Yeah.
It didn't work out.
Yeah, I guess not. You know, the problem with him was he was reading off of transcriptions during the show, and we'll have none of that, you know. But no, since the tour began in October, we've had Derek Sherinian, who had played with Alice Cooper and Kiss and recorded with Brad Gillis. He's been a hired gun type, and he's been looking for a band situation, so he was real happy to get involved with us, and it's working out great. He's an amazing player. He went to Berklee College of Music, where we went, so he's got that similar background, and he's a tremendous player and a super cool guy.
Good. Okay, well, we'll be seeing him in action a little bit later on in the show. Right now, though, we have to take our first short break on Headbangers Ball, and let me tell you that after that, we're going to be in Munich with you guys on the European tour. We've got some live performances from that on the way, and we're also going to be meeting up with Dream Theater's support band, Fate's Warning. But taking us into that break, we're going to show you some highlights of this concert here at Ronnie Scott's in London, where Dream Theater playing their favourite cover versions and being joined by loads of special guests. So here we go, some live performances, and we'll see you right after the break in Munich for more from Dream Theater.
Happiness is a warm gown. Happiness is a warm gown. When I hold you in my arms, and I feel my finger on your trigger, I know nobody can do me no harm, because happiness is a warm gown. Happiness is a warm gown. Yes, it is. Happiness is a warm, yes, it is. When you're gonna make up your mind, when you're gonna love you as much as I do, when you're gonna make up your mind, 'cause things are gonna change so fast. Oh, white horses are still in bed. I tell you they'll always want you near. You say that things change, my dear.
have the average age of 22, and that track was taken from their self-financed CD Medicine. So good luck to them. That was Deadline debuting on Headbangers Ball tonight as part of our Dream Theatre Tour special. And we're actually now in Munich. Just before the break there, you saw highlights of the Ronnie Scott's concert, where Dream Theatre played some of their favourite cover versions with lots of special guests. And now we're over in Munich, joining the band on the European tour. And as you can see, I've got Mike back with me and John joining us on the show. So before we actually go on and talk some more about the album, I'm just really wondering how you felt about the concert at Ronnie Scott's. How did you feel about that and the way it went? Because I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great.
Thank you. It was definitely different, you know, like a couple hundred people sitting around tables, and it felt like a showcase. It was weird, but all of the special guests and playing covers, it made it a lot of fun. It was definitely unique.
Yes, it was. It was definitely something different. Now, I think you showcased a lot of the band's influences in that concert, and some of them were fairly obvious, like Rush, maybe, but then there were some that were less obvious, like Tori Amos or U2 or whatever. I was just wondering, was there anything that was a particular influence on the writing and recording of Awake, just not necessarily in musical terms, but in energy levels or anything like that?
Well, take it from that music. I mean, all that music is music that has influenced us as teenagers. I don't think it has any direct relation to like what we did with Awake.
So you've not had any major things like have an effect on you in the current music scene?
Well, I guess it's different for all of us. For me, I listen to a lot of real heavy stuff. Some of the stuff that definitely influenced my part in Awake was stuff like Helmet and Sepultura, you know, stuff like that. You know, a lot of the double bass stuff I do comes from listening to a lot of thrash and, you know, Pantera, stuff like that.
So you are the full-on metal chap in Dream Theatre? Yes!
Yeah.
Mike puts the metal in Dream Theatre. So we're only on to the third night of the European tour. Has things gone off to a smooth start, John?
Yeah, it's been great. You know, the crowd's been really enthusiastic, and can't ask for more than that. It's been really cool.
You're selling out the shows as you go, and which is a real achievement because it's tough in Europe with so many bands touring at the moment.
Well, I mean, knock on metal. We've always done really well here, I mean, especially Germany. We're doing like 2 weeks here and decent-sized venues, and the fans come out of the woodwork. I mean, Germany, Italy, Holland, Sweden, I mean, the list goes on. Everywhere we go in Europe, the fans are phenomenal. The turnout's always great, and the shows are awesome.
Well, we're going to show you some live performance from Dream Theatre very shortly. Just talking about the album again, though, unlike some groups, Dream Theatre is very much a band effort because everybody's involved in writing the lyrics and the music. It's therefore actually interesting that there is a common thread running through the songs. Do you think that Awake could loosely be described as a concept album, very loosely?
Loosely. I think it's actually more of a concept album in the musical sense than the lyrical sense, because every song is tied together, and they're strung together in a way that if you listen to the album from start to finish, there's a lot of reoccurring themes musically. Lyrically, yeah. I mean, lyrically it's dealing with a lot of common topics like deception and betrayal and trust and lack of it, and a lot of things we learned on the road, dealing with trying to balance our professional lives and our personal lives. You know, that's always a struggle when you're a band on tour. So I guess loosely it can be called a concept album in that sense.
Okay. Well, that's something I want to talk a little bit more in depth in the next segment, but it actually leads us nicely into our next video because we've got the new video from Queensryche on the way, and you may know that the guys from Queensryche said that the Promised Land album was a reflection of everything that they went through during the success of Empire and how their lives changed. So kind of what Mike said just there for Dream Theatre and Awake. Anyway, we're going to have a look at Queensryche, their new video, Bridge, and then we're going to talk to Dream Theatre some more right after that.
You call me up.
On Headbangers Ball, we're in Munich on their European tour, bringing you all the action and talking about the new album, Awake. And we touched on this a little bit in the last segment, but where do you guys feel that the major progression has come on Awake? Do you think it's more in the lyrics and the feelings portrayed than in the music itself?
Well, I think having not written as a band for like 2 years since we did Images and Words, I think we improved in both areas. I think the lyrics got a little better. and at least for myself personally. And I think the music took a change as well. I think it's more where we are right now, so I think in both areas we did.
Good. Well, that's the best way to go. I mean, how much have your lives changed since the success of the last album, just on a day-to-day basis? You know, it seems that you've been influenced a lot by relationships on the lyrics to this album, and I'm just wondering, you know, have your personal relationships changed because of the success and the lifestyle you were leading on the last record?
Well, first of all, I don't have to deliver Chinese food anymore. But things have changed for us, for sure. You know, we're spending our lives on the road, you know, and we're constantly wrapped up in the band. It takes a lot out of you. And it's hard. All of us are married, and John's getting married. So it's tough for us to be able to, like I said earlier, to balance the professional side and the personal side. But we're all very understanding to each other's personal needs, and we try to bring as much of that on tour with us as possible. You know, our wives come out every once in a while, and as much, you know, whenever possible, we try to spend time at home. But it's tough. It's definitely a very hard thing to balance, you know.
But I mean, on the last album, were you also disillusioned with things that you saw that went on in the music business, that probably before you'd reached that level you didn't realize that certain, like, a lot of political things go on and so on?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, a lot of people out there may think that if you get in the band, it's just like, oh, you put out a record and you're huge and you do whatever, but it's like, there's so much politics involved. People getting their hands in the pie, people putting in their opinions, and, you know, you have to consider a lot of it, but there's also a point where you have to step away from it and, you know, be in control of your own career. But it's tough, you know. There's a lot of politics involved, and a lot of, you know, a lot of frustrations, and you have to be really, level-headed and patient, and, you know, usually things work out.
And it's important, of course, to have the right people around you as well, and also that the band is a very close unit as well, and you can all rely on each other as well. I think that's an important part of it.
We've been together 10 years now, you know, so...
That's an achievement.
Yeah, that in itself, yes.
Now, obviously a lot has been made of the fact that you're all extremely talented musicians. I know that a lot of you went to the famous Berklee College of Music in the States. What would you like people to get from the album or seeing the band live other than that outstanding musicianship?
John?
Well, hopefully they're just happy to be here. You know, I mean, it's great that there are so many people interested in what we're doing, but apart from that, I think it's up to personal interpretation, you know.
Yeah.
We try to, like, do things more than what's on the album, you know, change the arrangements, improvise and jam on parts and stuff like that. And now, after doing that cover gig in London, now we have all these things in our repertoire that we could pull out of the hat. You know, for instance, tonight here in Germany, I think we're going to pull out the Metallica thing, just because we have a lot of fans, especially here in Germany, that go to, like, every show. So, you know, we try to mix it up as much as possible and give the regulars something different each night.
Well, we're going to see what Dream Theater gave Munich this very night, because we're going to go into our next short break right now, and taking us into that break we have some Dream Theater live on stage at the Terminal 1 in Munich, and we'll talk to the guys some more after this next short break. So stay tuned, and many thanks to Mike and John for talking to us, and we'll probably see them a little bit later on. On the road with the guys in Munich. We're at the famous Terminal 1 venue, and right now I've got James and John joining me here at the gig, and welcome. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. This will be our third show tonight, so we're looking forward to it. And once again, like always, Germany's incredible. The response, yeah, it's great.
The other guys were saying that, and it's a very, very good start to the tour.
Oh, definitely. I mean, just last night we played, and it was unbelievable. It was a sellout. There was 2,300 people, and I mean, they're just so loud and into it. You know, the enthusiasm's overwhelming. But yeah, we're having a great time. It's going well.
6 weeks more to go. It's quite a long tour away. So actually, James, if I could get your perspective on the new album Awake. I actually asked John this question when we were down at Ronnie Scott's earlier in the show. But I mean, so much has happened for you as people and as a band in the last 3 years, you know, signing a record deal, having a very successful album, now recording this new album, touring the world. How much is a reflection of, how much is the album a reflection of all that in terms of the overall vibe of the record?
Well, I think that, like anything, when you're going in to do an album, the album it's like a diary of where the people in the band are at that point in life. And this album is a reflection of where we were coming from, the experiences from touring with Images and Words. After that, like rushing into writing the material. But everything that we were affected by, like all the people that we met on the road, just all our surroundings that we came in contact with. And I think that the album says a lot, has a lot of that set in it, you know, just our experiences and just how we've grown individually, I think, you know, and as a band we became a lot tighter. I think the music is a reflection of that. It shows that quite well. And just the lyrics that's speaking about how we all took it in individually and we used it in a positive manner, and just our whole perspective of our situation in life right now. And I think Awake is a good storytelling of that, what we're going through right now, or what we went through just recently in the last 3 years, because it's been like a bloody, you know, a roller coaster ride. You know, it's been really, really crazy. Yeah.
Well, and as you said, everybody contributed the lyrics to the album, so it is very much an overall reflection of the band's, I guess you could say, mentality or mindset in 94, 95.
Yeah, definitely. I was brought to my, I was doing an interview the other day, and something interesting came up. The guy said, you know, you wouldn't know that it was many people or everybody in the band writing the lyrics. You would think it was coming from one guy, because a lot of it is very similar.
I was going to say that, actually.
Yeah, and I said, you know, I think a lot of that has to do is that we're constantly around each other, we're going through the same things, we're seeing the same things, we're experiencing the same things. So obviously it's in our own words, but it all relates to a lot of the same experiences, you know, and just the whole growth pattern we're all experiencing at the same time. A lot of similarities. So I think that's why, because the guy said it was a conceptual. No, it wasn't, you know, but it does. There's a lot of a common thread that runs throughout the whole album. Yeah.
So what do you think that the listener will get actually from listening to the lyrics and reading them and digesting them? Do you think that they can learn something themselves from that?
I think they'll like my lyrics better out of all of them.
Okay, I gotta go.
Oh, let me tell.
First fight of the tour, thanks to MTV.
No. Yeah, I mean, I can recall listening to bands like Rush and Marillion and Yes and Floyd, and growing up, like, really getting something out of the lyrics, you know, taking some of the quotes and writing them on my desk or notebooks or whatever. And I think because some of the subject matter is interpreted in a, it's analytical or it's philosophical, that there are some things that the listener could get out of it, you know.
And if we could just touch on your vocals, James, it seems that you did really, really push yourself on this record. I think you went to new heights with your vocals. Which song has given you the most satisfaction in that regard in your own personal performance?
I think the best song that represents where I was wanting to take the vocals would be Scarred. It's my favorite song on the album, musically as well as my vocal performance. But the interesting is, a lot of people said, you know, like you've changed your whole vocal style. But before I met Dream Theater, and they can vouch for this, the demo tape that I sent them, I used to sing a lot like this. There'd be that raspiness in my voice, you know, and then I'd also do the crooning, which I always do, and then the high singing, clean, and then the high singing in a raunchy voice. So it was just something that I guess when I went in to do Images and Words, I just wanted to keep it one style, and the producers would say, no, keep it clean, you know. But with this one, I said, well, look, you know, I just want to take a whole different approach. I want to have it add more dimension, more dynamics to the songs, and I think that definitely it did add more of a dynamic feel, an emotional feel to the album. But it was great, you know, and who knows what I'll do the next album. You know, maybe I'll do Tiny Tim's vocal performance. I don't know.
I think that shows more confidence on your part, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I just, you know, there's, especially with this type of music, I say this a lot, but this is the ultimate band for a vocalist to be in, just because there's so much area in the music for the vocalist to be so expressive that it's you know, it's the best situation, you know. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll talk to the guys some more. We've got some more music on the way for you right now, and in fact we've got another Dream Theater video coming at you, and we're going to turn the clock back to 1992 for another track from Images and Words, and this has gone down very well on Headbangers Ball. I know you're going to want to see it again, and you are, because it's coming up right now. This is Dream Theater, and we are going to show you Another Day, their new single, Silver. Brilliant stuff.
Fellow Canucks.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're Canadian, aren't you?
Right, yeah. I mean, I just became aware of the band as much as the rest of the world, but I never really heard of them before. So I guess, have they been around for a while? Here,
no, just 2 years.
No, I'll interview you. Just 2 years?
2 years.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you very much, Vanessa.
Good, thank you. Well, we're going to talk about Dream Theater now. It's the Headbangers Ball Dream Theater European Tour Special, coming to you from Munich. And James and John are talking to me about the new album. And I think much has been made of the fact of the standard of musicianship in the band. You know, I was wondering, why did you feel the need for outside producers? You work with Dwayne Barron and John Purdell. You know, I imagine you're the sort of band that has a very clear vision of what you want to do. What can a producer bring to the equation?
Well, I think none of us are producers, you know. I think we'd be fooling ourselves if we went into a record and thought we could record it ourselves. We need an objective ear, first of all, an outside ear that could, you know, really listen with fresh ears and maybe make some suggestions so far as melodies and where everything is sitting. And also, technically, none of us really know about engineering. You know, we'd be lost in the studio. So, thus, we chose producers that would accommodate, you know, getting great sounds as engineers, and also that we respected in their in the way that they perceive or their perspective of music, you know. So, and also John Purdell is a great musician.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say that you would need people who had that experience themselves.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Even Images and Words, David Prater's a great drummer and singer, and you know, even like simple things like when you're playing a part and they have to know where to bring you in or whatever. It's like they have to be musically adapted, you know.
I mean, there are some instrumental passages on the album. What did you feel that they added to the record? Because, well, actually, when I was talking to Van Halen recently, they've got something similar going on their record, and they said that they actually couldn't find any lyrics that would work, and that it was so good as an instrumental that it didn't need anything else. Is that what happened with you guys?
No, actually, when we write an instrumental or an instrumental section, we go in knowing that it's going to be instrumental. And I think it's just a different perspective, you know, having a guitar or keyboards or bass or whatever carry the voice of it, you know. It's also, when we're playing and there's a vocal line going on, you have to really be aware of what's happening. You can't really go psycho and have these intricate things. So when we do instrumental parts, it's really anything goes, and we can do a lot of counterpoint and collective rhythms and stuff, and we don't have to worry about somebody trying to make out the lyrics, you know.
Bit of a musical workout for you guys. I mean, James, when I've seen Dream Theater play live, there are lots of long passages of music when you actually have a chance to go off stage and take a little break. Right. How is that for you? Is that difficult to keep your energy level up?
No, because usually I'll go backstage and I just do a lot of stretching, walking around, just keeping myself loose, and you know, I'll just keep sipping back the water. But no, like, I never let myself sit down, because then I would, you know, I'd lose the whole drive. But no, I just keep walking around, and actually a lot of the times I'll come back on and just watch them every night, you know, instrumentally, yeah.
Well, we're going to catch up with the guys a little bit later on in the show, but we're going to just let you go now for a while because we're going to take a few steps back from the Dream Theatre European Tour. In the next part of the show, we're going to bring you an in-depth report on Bad Religion's album, Stranger Than Fiction, and we're also going to be hooking up with Dream Theatre's support band, Fate's Warning, and those of you in the know will already know that there's quite a strong connection between the two bands because the ex-keyboard player in Dream Theatre, Kevin Moore, actually played on Fate Warning's 1989 album, Perfect Symmetry. And I think there's a few other connections between the two bands there as well. We'll find out more about that when we talk to the guys after the break. But taking us into that break, we are going to show you some more Dream Theatre live. So stay tuned for Bad Religion. They're coming up after the break.
6 o'clock and a siren kicks in from a dream. Try to shake it out, but it just won't stop. Can't find a trick, but he's got promises to keep. And wouldn't you try before he sleeps? I may never get over, but never's better than now. I got bases to cover. But he can't get out. Lots of cigarette and he turns the music down, but just can't seem to shake that sound. What time I get over, but it's too late for me now. I got bases to cover. To the door, there's memory flies out the window. Till they finally let us go.
Welcome back to Headbangers Ball. We're out on the road once again, this time in Munich, Germany. We will be tour special, and as you know, this is the show that crams in maximum metal per minute, and we also cram in maximum Dream Theatre members into this segment right now. We've got all members of the band, and I should introduce you to Derek here, who is on keyboards for Dream Theatre. Hi Derek, you having fun?
Having a blast, absolutely.
So we're just winding up the show now, and we're just going to finish. I've got a couple of questions left over from earlier, and I was wondering if we could talk a little bit about the trilogy of songs, Erotomania, Voices, and The Silent Man. How did that come about? Was it one massive song that kind of got broken down into 3 parts? How did that work?
Actually, I wrote The Silent Man one day at home.
And that came first?
It came first, and I kind of put that aside. And before we were doing, we went in to write the album, I just had an idea that maybe we can do a trilogy, with 3 parts and an instrumental on the front and an epic in the middle and put Silent Man at the end. And it was just an idea, but we made it happen, made it come through.
And they all work together as individual songs as well, and in fact Silent Man is going to be the next single, is that right?
This is true. Actually, we shoot a video in Munich. Oh, we're out here tomorrow, actually, so...
And Mikey's co-directing.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's an experience for you. Is that the first time?
Well, I've always been very, very into film and stuff, so it's I guess it was inevitable that it would come to this. I don't know if I'm getting full credit for it though, but just so you know, it was my idea. The director's trying to MacGyver me, trying to MacGyver me out of it, but...
All right, well, we're setting the record straight here. So actually, you're the best person to tell us then about the video, because this is like an acoustic-based song, something quite different for Dream Theatre in video terms. How are you going to approach it?
Well, it's going to be part performance and part conceptual. I mean, the song is very simple and moody, so I think it'll have that dark, moody look to it. And the way I envision it is that our part in it should be kind of minimal, because it really is that kind of a song. It's a very minimalistic type song. So But the conceptual stuff is going to be bringing the artwork of the cover to life with the old man and the mirror and the contrast between black and white and color. So we're shooting it tomorrow, so we'll see what happens. If it comes out great, then I'll take the credit for it. If it looks horrible, then it was Pamela's fault.
He didn't do it.
Well, we will look forward to seeing that on Headbangers Ball for sure. So you've got like 7 weeks, 6-7 weeks coming up in Europe. Is the rest of your year already planned out for you guys in terms of touring and so on?
Well, there are some things that are kind of up in the air. You know, we know that we want to be touring for most of the year. I think we're about 5 months into it at this point. And in the States, we have Silent Man coming out as a single in a few days, actually. So when we get back in the middle of March, we'll kind of feel out the scene. You know, we've already done the States, Japan, and Europe, and if there's any more touring in store, we'll decide then. But possibly South America, Australia, or Pacific Rim.
Whole world. Dream Theatre takes on the world. All right, well, that's all we've got time for on Headbangers Ball, so I'd like to say thank you to all of you for having us out on the road, and it's been a lot of fun talking to you, and good luck with the tour and the album Awake, and I'm sure we're going to be hearing more from you guys and seeing more. We've got the new video to look forward to, as we've just been saying. So I shall say goodbye to you guys now, and many, many thanks. Enjoy the rest of the tour, and we're going to finish tonight's show.
Say goodbye to all our
Now you know why he's a drummer, okay? So we're going to finish with some Dream Theatre live for you right now here at the Terminal 1 in Munich, and over this live performance you can check out the rest of the tour dates where you can catch Dream Theatre live right across Europe. So see if they are coming to a town near you right now. We're going to say good night with this live performance, and then I'll be back after that to tell you what's coming up on next week's show. So you'll see me very shortly, and you'll see these guys on tour. See you later.
See ya.
Thanks for having me.
Has man been a victim of his warning, of his fun? If he elects not to bother, will he suffocate their faith? Desperate to fall behind the great wall that separates us all. When there is reason, when there's no answer, arrive the sun. If there is balance, night he's with. If they have to suffer, lies the silent man. I could sail by on the winds of silence, and maybe they won't notice. But this time I think it'd be better if I swim. And there is reason tonight. There's no answer, arrive the silent. If there is balance, tonight he's away. But if they have to suffer, that lies beside man, that lies beside man.
Okay, well that live performance from Dream Theatre just about concludes